Buongiorno! Bentornati! Welcome back! Last time we studied second conjugation verbs, the regular and irregular verbs that end in ere, and we discussed the central region of Lazio. Today, we will shift our focus to the northernmost regions of the Valle d'Aosta and Trentino-Alto Adige, as we learn third conjugation verbs, the ones that end in ire, ire. First, let's begin with not one, but two paragraphs on these two regions. Let's see just how well you can do with the skills you've acquired so far. Don't forget that both this text and its translation are included in your course workbook. Oggi parliamo di due regioni, la Valle di Aosta e Trentino-Alto Adige. Sono regioni molto montagnose. Sono luoghi perfetti per sciare e passeggiare all'aria aperta. Si trovano nell'Italia settentrionale. La Valle d'Aosta confina con la regione del Piemonte a sud e anche con la Francia ad ovest e la Svizzera a nord. Qui l'italiano e il francese sono le due lingue ufficiali. È la regione più piccola e meno popolata di tutta l'Italia. Il suo capoluogo è Aosta. Contiene alcuni dei monti più alti delle Alpi, come il Monte Bianco, il monte più alto di tutta l'Europa. Il Parco Nazionale del Gran Paradiso è in questa regione. Il Trentino-Alto Adige è anche una regione con un paesaggio molto bello. Questa regione confina con la Lombardia e il Veneto. Il suo capoluogo è Trento, una città famosa per la storia medievale e rinascimentale, come il Concilio di Trento. Le Dolomiti, una catena montuosa spettacolare che fa parte delle Alpi, si trovano in questa regione. Le Dolomiti sono perfette per fare alpinismo e altre attività sportive. Sono due regioni che offrono tantissimo per chi ama la natura e l'attività sportiva. Bravi! Wow, that's the longest text that we've encountered in our course so far. How did you do? If you understood that these two regions are mountainous, since they contain different parts of the Alps, or that these are good places for enjoying nature by skiing, hiking, and mountain climbing, then you've understood the gist. And that's the most important thing. Now, let's unlock these paragraphs further by identifying the verbs. The verbs in green all belong to the first conjugation. Parliamo, sciare, passeggiare, trovano, confina, fa and cambia. The verbs in blue belong to the second conjugation, contiene. Contenere is irregular. It follows the same conjugating pattern as tenere. And this is another strategy for dealing with unknown verbs. See if you can take off the prefix to find the verb you recognize. But what is this one solitary verb, offrono, at the end of the passage? Do you think that it belongs to the second conjugation? Well, that would be a good guess, since second conjugation verbs end in ono in the loro form. But just like segue, a verb we saw last time and that looks like a second conjugation verb, offrono also belongs to the third conjugation. Offrono is offrire in the infinitive form, and segue is seguire in the infinitive form. So let's get back to that text and take a closer look at certain sentences. Let's pay particular attention to understanding the subject of conjugated verbs. First, let's look at the beginning. Oggi parliamo di due regioni, la Valle di Aosta e Trentino-Alto Adige. Sono regioni molto montagnose. Today, we will speak about two regions, Valle d'Aosta and Trentino-Alto Adige. They are very mountainous regions. In this last sentence, you had to understand that the regions were the subject of sono. They are also the subject of the verb sono in the following sentence and the subject of si trovano in the sentence after that one. Later on, the text reads, contiene alcuni dei monti più alti delle Alpi, come il Monte Bianco, il monte più alto di tutta l'Europa. Il Parco Nazionale del Gran Paradiso è in questa regione. Now you had to figure out that the it refers to the region of Aosta. It contains some of the tallest mountains of the Alps, like Monte Bianco, the tallest mountain in all of Europe. The Parco Nazionale del Gran Paradiso is in this region. Figuring out the subject of the verbs gets a little tricky here in this sentence. Le Dolomiti, una catena montuosa spettacolare che fa parte delle Alpi, si trovano in questa regione. Le Dolomiti sono perfette per fare alpinismo e altre attività sportive. The Dolomites, a spectacular mountain range that is part of the Alps, are in this region. The Dolomites are perfect for mountain climbing and other athletic activities. The subject of fa is una catena montuosa, but the subject of si trovano is le Dolomiti. Did you catch that? Good. Bravi. Isn't it exciting how we can now talk about these regions in Italian? Remember, the process of learning a foreign language involves building upon what you already know, using cognates but also previously acquired knowledge, like first and second conjugation verbs, to move yourself forward into a new terrain. Learning a foreign language should feel like a tug of war between remembering what you know and approaching what you don't know yet. It should feel challenging. Let's do some quick practice with what we do know, second conjugation verbs. Since we have been talking about physical activities, we'll use the following verbs that you haven't encountered before. Nuotare, to swim. Fare sollevamento pesi, to lift weights. Andare in palestra, to go to the gym. Fare aerobica, to do aerobics. Prendere lezioni di tennis, arti marziali, yoga, to take lessons in tennis, martial arts, yoga. And correre, to run. Please read with me. Leggiamo insieme. Nuoto spesso la mattina. I often swim in the morning. Anche tu fai sollevamento pesi? Do you also lift weights? Mio marito va in palestra ogni mattina. My husband goes to the gym every morning. Noi facciamo aerobica 4 volte alla settimana. We do aerobics 4 times every week. Prendete lezioni di tennis? Do you all take tennis lessons? corrono velocemente per vincere. They run fast so they can win. Some new words there, but the verb form should feel familiar. So that leads us right to what we don't know yet. Third conjugation verbs, the ones that end in ire, ire, like offrire and seguire from our opening text. Remember the 1, 2, 3 pattern we discussed last time? Let's take a look at it again. In the first conjugation, there is one vowel used 3 times. A appears in the lui, lei, voi, and loro forms. Nuota, nuotate, nuotano. The same subject forms had the same endings between the first and second conjugations. Corro, corri, and corriamo. Remember, though, that for second conjugation verbs, we use the vowel from the infinitive e in 2 of those other forms, the lui, lei, and the voi forms, corre and correte, and then another vowel, o, in the loro form, corrono. In the third conjugation, we have 3 different vowels in those select subject forms, offro, offrite, and offrono. Please repeat all of the conjugated forms of offrire with me. Offro, offri, offre, offriamo, offrite, offrono. Bene. Some other frequently used third conjugation verbs include aprire, to open, coprire, to cover, dormire, to sleep, partire, to leave or to depart, sentire, to hear or to feel, servire, to serve, to be of use, and vestire, to dress or to wear. All of these verbs are conjugated regularly by removing the last 3 letters of the infinitive and adding the correct endings. However, you knew I was going to tell you that there is always an exception, right? There are irregular verbs in the third conjugation as well. Well, how could it be a living language without some irregularity, right? Vero? The third conjugation claims even more irregular verbs than the first 2 conjugations. So get ready. Siete pronti? Are you ready? Okay, let's go. Let's divide up the irregular ire verbs into 2 groups, the ones that change their verb stems and then more singular irregular verbs. So verbs like capire, to understand, finire, to finish, preferire, to prefer, and pulire, to clean, all change their verb stems to isc, isc, in 3 of the subject forms. Please repeat after me. Ripeti per cortesia. The verb capire, capisco, capisci, capisce, capiamo, capite, capiscono. Now you know why you've heard capiche in all those Italian-American movies and television shows. Capiche is a dialectical form of capisci. Do you understand? How can you tell if a verb in ire takes sc? Count 5 letters back from the end of the infinitive. If that letter is a vowel, then the verb will take sc. Capiche? It's a trick that works. Let's tell the strange story of 6 verbs, most of them family members. One child, called dire, to say, another child, called venire, to come, the mother, morire, to die, the father, uscire, to exit or to leave, and the ski lift operator, salire, to ascend or to climb. The family is in a cabin in the Alps having a conversation about their first skiing expedition. Dire says from inside the house, "Dico che è pericoloso sciare. Ho paura. Mamma, dici che è possibile morire?" Morire responds from inside the house, "No, non muori su questa pista, figlio mio." Uscire calls from the entry to the house, "Che fate? Andiamo a sciare o no? Uscite anche voi?" Venire calls from outside the house, "Sì, veniamo." Salire calls from the ski lift, "Benissimo, salite sulla vetta della pista." Very silly, I know, but silly stories are another trick for remembering exceptions and irregular patterns. So be creative and come up with your own. Let's take a look at what these crazy verbs are saying. Dire says that it is dangerous to ski. He is afraid. His mother, the verb morire, tells him, "No, you are not going to die on this course." The husband, uscire, calls into the cabin, asking them, what are they doing? Are they coming out or not? Venire, another child, yells, "Yes, we're coming." Salire, the lift operator, shouts, "Great, climb to the top of the course." Let's take a closer look at these irregular forms. You'll notice an overall pattern. Please repeat. The verb dire, dico, dici, dice, diciamo, dite, dicono. Dire may remind you of two other verbs that revert back to their Latinate stems before the endings are added on. That's right, fare, such as faccio, and bere, such as bevo. The DIC stem comes from its Latin form. If it helps you to think of them in this family of verbs, then you can remember them this way. Uscire, on the other hand, looks a lot like capire. Please repeat after me. Esco, esci, esce, usciamo, uscite, escono. You might think it belongs to those IRE verbs that add SC to their stem before adding regular endings. With uscire, though, U changes into an E. Esco, esci, esce, and escono in all forms except for noi and voi. This leads us to a general pattern with the irregular verbs. The noi and voi forms tend to keep their infinitive verb stem. Let's look at morire, to die, to observe this again. Please repeat the forms after me. Muoio, muori, muore, moriamo, morite, muoiono. Finally, we have venire and salire, verbs that follow this pattern more or less, but that also include G's in the io and loro forms. Again, repeat after me. Vengo, vieni, viene, veniamo, venite, vengono. And the verb salire, salgo, sali, sale, saliamo, salite, salgono. Remember, all of these irregular verb forms can be tricky. Your workbook activities will help solidify your knowledge of them. Nothing can substitute for practice. Let's switch gears slightly and talk about the calendar and the seasons. Le stagioni sono. The seasons are la primavera, spring. L'estate, summer. L'autunno, fall. L'inverno, winter. I mesi della primavera sono marzo, March, aprile, April e maggio, May. I mesi dell'estate sono giugno, June, luglio, July e agosto, August. I mesi dell'autunno sono settembre, September, ottobre, October e novembre, November. I mesi dell'inverno sono dicembre, December, gennaio, January e febbraio, February. Che facciamo in queste stagioni? What do we do during these seasons? In primavera e in autunno passeggiamo all'aria aperta. Giochiamo a pallavolo, a baseball o a pallacanestro. In estate andiamo al mare o nuotiamo in piscina. Prendiamo il sole. Andiamo in barca a vela. In inverno facciamo alpinismo, lo sci o il pattinaggio. In spring and autumn, we walk outdoors. We play volleyball, baseball, or basketball. In summer, we all go to the beach or we swim in a pool. We sunbathe, we go sailing. In the winter, we hike, ski, or ice skate. Now let's discuss the days of the week and our weekly physical activities. The Italian week starts with Monday. I giorni della settimana sono, the days of the week are, lunedì, Monday, martedì, Tuesday, mercoledì, Wednesday, giovedì, Thursday, venerdì, Friday, sabato, Saturday e domenica, Sunday. Please repeat this after me and then fill in the blanks with your own information. We'll read the questions together and then I'll pause to give you a chance to answer, after which I'll answer myself. Che giorno è oggi? Oggi è mercoledì. Che giorno è domani? What day is tomorrow? Domani è giovedì. Che giorno è dopodomani? What's the day after tomorrow? Dopodomani è venerdì. Qual è la data di oggi? What's today's date? Oggi è il 6 maggio. Il mio compleanno è il 3 settembre. My birthday is September 3rd. Quando è il tuo compleanno? Il mio compleanno è il 3 settembre. Bene, bravi. To discuss habitual activities, you use the definite article in front of the day of the week. For example, nuoti spesso? Do you swim often? Sì, nuoto il lunedì e il mercoledì. Yes, I swim on Mondays and Wednesdays. This would mean that I swim every Monday and every Wednesday. Let's talk about what my friend Alyssa does to stay active. Ecco la mia amica Alyssa. Lei è molto attiva. Lei fa attività fisica regolarmente. Here's my friend Alyssa. She is very active. She does physical activity regularly. Lei nuota il lunedì. She swims on Mondays. Fa sollevamento pesi in palestra il martedì. She lifts weights in the gym on Tuesdays. Fa l'aerobica il mercoledì e il giovedì. She does aerobics on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Prende lezioni di yoga il venerdì. She takes yoga lessons on Fridays. Corre 2 miglia il sabato. She runs 2 miles on Saturdays. Dorme la domenica. She sleeps on Sundays. What do professional sports and athletics look like in Italy? You may think of numerous sports, from soccer, il calcio, to the thriving sport of basketball, pallacanestro, to cycling, ciclismo, including the famous Giro d'Italia race. Italy has been the host of the Winter Olympics, le Olimpiadi Invernali, twice. Let's practice saying some years in Italian. In 1956, 1956, the host was Cortina d'Ampezzo, also in the Dolomites, but in the Veneto region, bordering on Trentino-Alto Adige. In 2006, 2006, the host was Turin. Italy will host the 2026 Winter Olympics, 2026, to be held again at Cortina d'Ampezzo. Rome hosted the Summer Olympics, le Olimpiadi Estive, in 1960. 1960. Italy is sixth in the overall medal count since the beginning of the Olympics and reigns over all other nations in fencing, la scherma. Let's talk about the sports of the Summer Olympic program. Gli sport del programma olimpico estivo includono il canottaggio, canoeing, l'equitazione, equestrian sports, la ginnastica, gymnastics, il nuoto e il nuoto sincronizzato, swimming and synchronized swimming, il pallanuoto, water polo, il pallavolo, volleyball, e la vela, sailing. Gli sport del programma olimpico invernale includono: the Winter Olympic program includes lo sci alpino, alpine skiing, lo sci di fondo, cross-country skiing, il patinaggio di figura, figure skating, il patinaggio di velocità, speed skating, e l'hockey su ghiaccio, ice hockey. But you may ask, what sports are played in our two northern regions? Che sport fanno nella Valle di Aosta o nel Trentino-Alto Adige? Ovviamente loro fanno lo sci alpino, lo sci di fondo, la vela, il patinaggio, l'alpinismo e tanti altri sport che si fanno nelle montagne e nei laghi. Obviously, they do alpine skiing, cross-country skiing, sailing, skating, hiking, and many other sports that are done in the mountains and on the lakes. Ma nella regione della Valle d'Aosta c'è uno sport particolare, lo zan. Lo zan è un gioco di squadre che si gioca con il pallino e la mazza. È simile al baseball, ma è un gioco molto complesso. In the Valle d'Aosta region, there is a particular game, zan. Zan is a team sport that is played with a small ball and a club. It is very similar to baseball, but it is a very complex sport. I hope that you have enjoyed our trip through the Valle d'Aosta and Trentino-Alto Adige. La prossima fermata, la Puglia. Ci vediamo presto. Alla prossima!